So let me now start by introducing a little bit about the John Monash Foundation, actually, which is why we have a connection to David. So the John Monash Foundation is an Australian foundation that was established in 2001, and its purpose is to provide funding and scholarships for postgraduate students who are really focused on fostering leadership and expertise and international networks in the areas that really matter for Australia's future. And in 2012, BHP entered into a 10-year partnership with the foundation, and we invested approximately $250,000 a year to contribute to the foundation. And our partnership does actually support an annual scholarship program, which is particularly focused on innovation and growth, and really all about Australia's future. So it's a wonderful foundation, and BHP is very proud to have had such a long association with the foundation. So now I'll turn to David and welcome, David, you here today. I just want to say a few things to introduce you. So Dr. David Smerdon is a lecturer at the University of Queensland School of Economics, and he earned his PhD from the University of Amsterdam, while on a John Monash Foundation award. His research focused particularly on the application of behavioural and developmental economics. A major stream of his research is around the effect of social norms and what can be done to implement behavioural change across a diverse range of applications, such as refugee integration in rural Australia, female circumcision in Somalia, and the gender pay gap in STEM. But what advice, more broadly, might you have for us at BHP in terms of applying, data and behavioural economics to interrupting bias in some of our processes like hiring or decision making or even culture change programs as we look to create a more inclusive organisation?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to the research, there's really a huge amount of research on all of these topics individually. If you look at, hiring biases, promotion biases, negotiation for a pay increase, mentorship, all these things, there's a massive amount of research, and it's getting better and better. It's really well done. I guess one of the main problems is that there's just so much. Like, where do you sort of start if you're not an academic? So I guess trying to seek out people who work in this space and are familiar with this research to work out what's going on. Don't just see it as a massive fixed cost. Like, there's just too much out there and I'm not an academic, so let's just work on our stuff. Try to get people to disseminate what we know works, what we know doesn't work. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that most organizations don't touch. For instance, a lot of people still use panel interviews as one of their main method for hiring. A lot of people use unstructured interviews rather than structured interviews, and don't have any sort of blinding process on the initial application. These are just three ones that are low hanging, but the evidence is super clear that these things, like having unstructured interviews, not only don't make any difference to your performance of your new hires, but can actually go in the wrong direction. Like all these sort of things, there's a lot of clear evidence on that. But the general message is to try to somehow get answers to what research is out there for each specific issue and how it should apply to you. I guess that's the first thing. And the second thing is, don't be afraid to experiment. Again, it's that kind of dirty word a little bit, to experiment, but to try out these different things in your organization, and a bit of, I don't want to say self-experimentation, it's kind of the wrong word, but for a lot of these debiasing things, they don't have to be about, say, gender or minority groups or these sort of stereotypes necessary. A lot of these biases actually stem from underlying cognitive biases. This is best-selling book, Thinking Fast and Slow, by Daniel Kahneman, who was a Nobel Prize winner in behavioral economics. A lot of these things, like for instance, the Challenger rocket disaster, for example, which was essentially an engineering and also project management disaster. The biases that led to this, there's been a lot of research, and it's pretty clear how it happened. It's got nothing to do with stereotypes or social norms necessarily. These are underlying cognitive biases that feed into everything. And there are a lot of really good debiasing programs you can do that people find interesting without sort of having it thrust on them that we have a culture problem we need to change necessarily. It's all individuals have biases that if you overcome them, you'll make better decisions in your own life, you'll make better decisions in your own career, and you'll be able to make better decisions for a group. And I think that's I think all organizations should have this, basically, ways to overcome well-known established behavioral biases.
Yeah. So when you say that, David, do you mean things like expedience bias or safety bias? So those broader sort of things about the way the brain operates and that can just really, dictate how we behave in all sorts of situations.
Yeah, some of them are well known sort of to everyone in terms of things like confirmation bias. So you have some existing prior going into this, some existing expectation, and then you choose the information that fits with what you previously expected. And it's really important for any project that you undertake, as well as a hiring decision if you had a prior about the sort of candidate you wanted. And there are very simple ways to get over these sort of biases, and confirmation bias, overconfidence bias, all these sort of ones. So I guess, and these ones apply to all individuals, but then there are others that apply to some individuals more than others. So finding out what are your own biases and how to overcome them matter as well. So on average, women are underconfident, men are overconfident. In both cases, it's going to lead to bad decisions. On average, women should take risks a bit more and men a bit less. But of course, that's on average as well. So it's going to be completely different for a particular individual. So knowing in what areas you make bad decisions and then what sort of things you need to do to help you to make better decisions, I think is kind of interesting to everyone. When I was a professional chess player, we needed to work that out for each player. Like you wanted to know, like, in what situations am I screwing up all the time, and getting over that matters a lot. And I think these things, it's quite clear if you undertake these sort of programs as an individual, you know that you're benefiting yourself, and the flow on effects to everyone obviously is what matters to the organization. But you're going into it knowing that, well, I'm going to get quite a fair bit out of it for my own career as well.